and welcome to this week's episode of Truffle Talks. I'm James Stephen, the editor of Truffle Report, and Truffle Talks is our new interview series where we sit down with the movers and shakers defining psychedelic business, policy reform, science, and culture. Joining us today is someone a little different. Robert Bent is the founder and CEO of Othership. He's a big believer in the power of plant medicine, having experienced it for himself. He also likes dunking people in ice water after a sauna, which I think we can more formally call hot-cold therapy. Whatever you want to call it, it's a good time. I have been heated and cooled, and I liked it. Finally, Robbie wants us all to appreciate the power of breathing better. Now, I'm not going to lie. I'm coming at this with a lot of bias in favor. Since the start of COVID, I've been a bit of a wellness junkie. Yoga, meditation, supplements, exercise, been seeing an osteopath to help keep myself aligned. I've taken up quite a few new practices. Breathwork has probably been the most impactful for my sleep, for my productivity, and for, I guess, the generalized anxiety I've been experiencing since the start of the pandemic that I'm sure a lot of you watching can relate to. I brought Robbie in today because the last time we spoke, we connected on how all of these components form part of a greater whole. And since I've gotten tired of listening to myself talk, I'm going to turn it over to him to say a bit more about himself. Robbie, take it away.
Thanks, James. I love the intro. We've got somebody different on today, so hopefully I can live up to that. As a bit of background, and this came through personal practice, but we're building kind of peak experiences that really help people get into a flow state and take control of their nervous system. And what I mean by peak experiences is, super hot sauna, ice bath, breath work, trauma release and movement, sound, anything that can help the thinking mind shut down. And we're taking a new spin on this stuff and making it more fun than traditional wellness or meditation. And so it all stems from a background I had with addiction and using meditation and psychedelic medicines to get sober. And then when trying to teach people about these modalities. So either I taught 200 friends meditation, and the ones that kept it up as a practice, maybe 5 out of 200. So if you're listening and you've struggled to sit down and say, oh, I don't know what's happening, I just have all these crazy thoughts. That's common. It really, really takes a long time to build a habit, master, and feel the benefits of meditation. So I saw that happening.
I'll say too that I still struggle with that as someone who tries to meditate every day. Even, I think they call it the monkey mind chattering away in there. Sometimes it's just hard to keep that focus.
Exactly. And it's okay to have your mind chattering. It's just when you sit down your first time, it's very much, your first few times, or it's very much, hey, what is happening? Nothing's going on. Like it's uncomfortable. And psychedelic medicines have their own challenges as well. For most people, there's a stigma. They're illegal. How can I do them safely? Where can I go? It's expensive. I need to go on retreat. When I come back, how do I integrate what I've learned? So while these are like the bazooka, extremely powerful, I found it just most of my friends who were like lawyers and bankers and like kind of normal people were not able to.
The straight folks out there.
Yeah. And that's like the mainstream, So I have so many friends who are like, yeah, I love fitness or CrossFit or SoulCycle or going to the gym, and I want to be healthy and I want to have these modalities. But then you talk about mental health and it's like, well, I don't have any practices, and mental health is tough. It's hard to know how you're feeling. It's hard to get into meditation and build a new habit. It's really hard to go see a therapist, to open up and be vulnerable with a stranger. It's expensive. So I kind of looked at all that stuff that's happening in the traditional world of mental health and just found it wasn't serving like 90% of my friends. And at the same time, all of my friends are addicted to their phone. And that's just common. I don't mean anything negative by that. I have the same issue, but you have this thing in your pocket. There's notifications every 5 minutes, right? There's a Slack message, social media.
When Facebook was down the other week, I was checking it anyway. I just couldn't stop.
And I think the average person checks their phone over 100 times a day and spends more than 3 hours on their phone. So it's become such a big part of our life. And every time you get that notification, your brain doesn't know the difference between real stress and perceived stress. So it kicks in the fight or flight, which can actually take hours to turn off. And the fight or flight is a nervous system state of focus. It's our mind saying, hey, we need to be aware. It's sending blood flow to the brain, and that's fine. But human beings aren't meant to be in that all day long, which is where your phone is sending you. So you have this like rise in this fight or flight nervous system state that we're in all the time. And for human beings, the opposite of that is called the parasympathetic or rest and digest state. When you're eating, cuddling, having sex, eye gazing with somebody, all of these things are in that nervous system state. And that's where we actually find meaning and feel emotion. And so if we're always in this fight or flight state, it makes it very difficult to connect with emotion. So, you wake up, you have your coffee, you check your phone, you start working, you're in that fight or flight. And like, how do you get out of it? And it's quite difficult. It
can be like having a panic attack all day.
Exactly. And then that's sort of the common, if you're working a job, which most people are, that's sort of today's like standard environment.
Oh yeah, I'm a busy guy. I work in an office. I get a lot of Slack messages, email notifications, and every single one of them ratchets up your stress a little bit more if they're coming
ratchets up your stress, messes up your breathing patterns, and as a result, it takes meaning away from your life and makes it more difficult to connect. And so I saw this happening, and meditation, psychedelic medicine's amazing practices. That was the start of my journey, but for most, it's not the best first step. So we spent years thinking about how can we build things that are fun, that you can sort of feel immediately, and that will attract people to come use them from these mainstream backgrounds, right? That I mentioned before. So if someone wants to be healthy, they come and do this thing. And so we came up with a physical space, a set of physical spaces, and they're built around 40-person sauna, 4 ice baths, and classes amongst these things. So class in the sauna may be complete darkness, really loud thumping music, everybody sharing something they got angry about this week and feeling that anger leave as they sweat it away. So it's kind of a mix between meditation and mental health practices at home and an app, and going to therapy and kind of making them fun. And so, where Soul Cycle and Boutique Fitness came along and made fitness fun and community driven, we're doing the same for mental health. So the space itself creates these peak experiences I mentioned, and they really get you into your body, shut down the thinking mind. You feel just amazing. And then you're doing it in community. So the design of the space is incredible. There's, fireplace, super low lighting. It's a fantastic place to hang. So you can come for these classes that I mentioned, which teach you how to regulate your emotions using extreme temperatures and peak state. We really teach you how to turn your nervous system on or off through breath and temperature. And then that you can use whenever you're having emotions come up during the day. So you're learning something, it's fun, it's in a class, you're feeling good from all these longevity benefits of hot and cold. And then there's a social element where you can hang out. So the idea is you either come to these classes or you come at night and you replace your bar or restaurant. So if you're going out at night, instead of going out for, 2 bottles of wine and a pack of smokes, you can come here and do something that's like super healthy. You don't need to dress up. There's no makeup. It's just, in a towel, and you're there and you're hanging out. And because there's no phones, you're not always looking and checking. So it's really like an hour, 2 hours for yourself to connect with friends. So that's one thing we've built. And our first location flagship is opening in Toronto. And we plan to scale to the US, Austin next year to start. And then the second is, okay, I've got this space, and a lot of people, who've done psychedelic medicines, they come after for integration. A lot of people who aren't ready for that stuff yet come here first because it's a cool thing to do. And then they're like, oh, wow, all these people are talking about psychedelics. Like, what's that? And so it kind of acts as prep. So it's both prep and integration. And then we found people want to continue the practices they're learning in the hot and cold at home. And so, we built an app with a bunch of different wellness practices, primarily breathwork. And the idea was similar to the space. Can we make wellness fun? And so our breathwork is guided breathing to a beat. It would feel like you're doing a Peloton class or a Soul Cycle class where there's like amazing celebrity instructors and DJs, and you're kind of listening to a set. And so you can pick, hip hop or trap music or electronic, whatever you jam to, what you would listen to anyways using like Spotify or SoundCloud. And then we overlay breath on top. So it's like, okay, I'm going to take a break and listen to 20 minutes of dope music and match my breath to the beat to determine an outcome. And we found, again, for people who, maybe aren't into spirituality and aren't into a lot of these, like yoga, meditation, stuff like that, or have struggled with those, we're making something that is like really fun and focused on being like beautiful and easy. And so we use science-backed techniques that can like boost energy, that can teach you to reduce anxiety, that can help you fall asleep, that can boost confidence, that can build creativity. So I can talk into any of those, but everything comes back to creating these beautiful, fun experiences.
And they are a tremendous amount of fun. Like I mostly use the breath work to cope with anxiety, but you, as I said in the beginning, you had me in the ice bath, in the sauna, And the best possible endorsement I can give of that isn't that it felt like psychedelic prep work. It was that when I left and was going home, I felt like I just got laid. It was that kind of relaxing to go do the one and then the other and just have that complete rest and disconnect.
Yeah, that's the goal is like, I think 20 years ago, people were naturally bored. Now you're stimulated all the time. And so, whereas before, people might have wanted to go to a spa to relax, it's too slow. So I think what it really helps people relax and stop their thinking now is like these really intense experiences. So it's almost like, as I said before, using the bazooka to get out of your mind and into your body. So if you want relief and just to stop and like be here, an example, during COVID, I own a bunch of restaurants, and I was like, I'm bankrupt. These restaurants are going out of business. My life is ending. Like, what am I going to do? And I would just go in the ice bath. I'd go out, get in there, and like all those worries, thoughts, emotions just fade away. So it's just an amazing way to build your resilience and work on your nervous system state through breath and temperature.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to go back for a second. You started with the psychedelics, with the plant medicine, and moved through sort of a cycle of wellness practices to get here to this idea. I just want to talk about, like, I see the value in this is that it can get people going in both directions. People who have had the experience with psychedelics, like myself, for instance, I was not a plant medicine person, was a recreational person, accidentally stumbled into some kind of enlightenment once or twice, I would say, some kind of well-being there. But yeah, the people who are interested in the fitness and that sort of practice can go one way, and the people who are interested in the psychedelics and transition to wellness can go another way. What are you seeing in terms of response? Like the mixing and matching?
Yeah, so there was a few problems that I saw these things solve. And so one was, I've probably used psychedelics 100 times. I've tried every single one. I've done tons of deep work with psychotherapists and coaches. I've been in the jungle working with shamans. I've used indigenous practices and sweat lodges. I've done dark retreats and meditation. I've tried everything. And what I found was when I sent people to try psychedelics, the ones that were interested, they would go to Peru, do a week, come back, and like 6 weeks on fire, feeling great in life. Mm-hmm. I've changed my habits that I wanted to. I feel amazing. And then slowly they would fade back to baseline. And even though the experience was beautiful from a behavioral change standpoint, it wouldn't stick. And I saw that happening probably more than the majority. It was very much this beautiful experience that, like, how do you, it's called integration. How do you integrate it, right? And so
I think that's not just with psychedelics. That's very much the danger of any like psychotherapy, any medication you're on, anything like that. You can feel the benefit at first and feel amazing, but actually processing it, integrating it, changing your life along with it so that the benefit lasts is a challenge in and of itself.
Exactly. And so we had a lot of people who came back and they were like, where is my community? I've just done these psychedelic medicines. I'm looking for change. I'm trying to improve. Where do I hang out? And, the bar, the nightclub, the restaurant, those aren't
how do I not go back to the bar every night with this?
Exactly. And then
back into the same old habits.
What kind of people do I talk to and share these experiences? And so, one group we're seeing is people who've been on retreat, whether it's meditation, psychedelic medicines, a long fast, interested in biohacking, any of these like kind of fringe things. We've created a space for those people to gather and share and connect. And so there's a lot of people from that demographic. Then there's a lot of people from the health and wellness demographic who go to SoulCycle or Berries or, the gym and are like, oh, I want to be healthy at night when I go out to eat. And so they kind of come in and for the first time ever, in a 200-degree sauna in complete darkness, someone playing a drum, their mind stops. They stop thinking like, wow, what's happening here? And then they might be guided through a gratitude practice. And it's like, they're blown away at what kind of emotional capacity they have and what they can feel. And so there's this huge group of people who aren't spiritual, not into the woo and not into psychedelic medicines yet, but like, they're stressed and they want to feel better. And so they've kind of come because the space is cool, it's fun, it's healthy. And then they sort of, as you said, they're like, this is their first intro to, kind of feeling into your emotions, getting out of the thinking mind. And so you can go both ways. And I've seen those people, it's their first experience, the ice bath. Like they stop thinking for the first time. I've seen, lawyers and bankers come in and for 40 years addicted to their phone and then say, hey, this is the first time I'm not thinking about work or my to-do list. And then they're like, wow, that's really cool. Then they do a sauna class and they're like, holy shit. I didn't know I had these kind of feelings. Then the next thing they do a breath work and it blows their mind. And then they kind of start saying like, well, this is really interesting. There's definitely something here that's not like spiritual or woo-woo. There's just something here that's powerful. Like I want to feel more. And then they're saying like, okay, what's next? Is it a meditation retreat? Is it a psychedelic medicine retreat? Is it spending 3 days in nature? And so, yeah, we get people from both sides of the spectrum and they move in different ways with the end goal of just like, can you create a community of people that want to feel better?
Very cool. So let's just talk a little bit about the business. We've heard about the Othership, the new space opening hopefully very soon in Toronto. Tell us a bit about the people working for you, the people facilitating these classes, these practices, where they come from. Obviously, we're living in a challenging time to start a business where people actually have to physically show up. If you have anything else to say about that too, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, so it's been pretty crazy. Like we started this as a side project. So it was just a ice bath in my backyard. Myself, my wife, another couple, and one of my best friends. So it's literally 5 best friends, and it's a kind of we'll call it a family run, local Toronto, friends kind of crew. And we started with an ice bath in a backyard, and every night for a summer we would take turns and have people over for the ice bath and a fire. And this is years ago, before it was like around on social media. And so people are coming, they're like, whoa, what is this? This is crazy. And we every night would hang out and have this like awesome chat session with a bunch of people in this cool backyard. Then as it got colder, we live in Toronto. So this winter, obviously you can't really do the ice bath outside. So, the space you see behind me was our prototype space and it was our garage. And so we just bootstrapped the garage, put a little sauna and ice bath in it and made a booking system on like a Google Doc, and just started letting people come from the neighborhood. And so every night we would tell people, we'd go to local restaurants and gyms and just say like, hey, you want to come check out this ice bath? And we grew that community to a few thousand people. And it was when those people started coming that we started doing the classes. We just have our friends in and make something up, maybe some essential oils in the sauna, maybe some trauma release and movements, maybe some yoga, maybe we do partner ice baths and compete to see who could stay in longer. Maybe we do like an eye gaze in the sauna. We came up with all kinds of different, like really cool classes. And then we were like, whoa, this is crazy. Like people are becoming friends. They're getting married. They're, going on trips together after meeting one time in the sauna. And then COVID hit, which was a bummer because we had to close down. So, we're like, oh shit, I guess, people are struggling. And so a lot of people kept messaging like, hey, can I come in? Can I come in? Because you can use the space privately. And so, we just started letting people come alone. We moved the model to an app where you would just come and let yourself in and clean up after yourself. And it was the only thing you could do in Toronto at the time. So people were really happy, like, wow, okay, these guys are kind of like risking it a little bit. Like it's technically wasn't allowed, but we were like, okay, if someone comes by themselves, so that's safe, or comes in their bubble. And people were struggling. So we just reached out to our community and we're like, yeah, you want to come, you come alone. Here's the shared schedule and go for it. And I think that really touched people that like, when everyone was struggling, we stood up for them and like gave them a place to go. And then we started doing breathwork for free on Zoom and for our community that we built. And we're getting like hundreds of people joining each day. And then we're like, oh shit, this is crazy. We should, make them recordings. And so we started making recordings. And then we noticed people were like watching them every day. And so that led us to make a course. And then the course led us, people were paying for the course and they're like, I want more content. So like, okay. So we filmed all the content, scripted it, recorded ourselves, and then went through an accelerator and learned how to build an app, and then built an app, which we're launching next week. And so we have a few thousand users now using that. And so just following our passion and trying to help people locally has led to like these physical spaces in this app and this whole like idea of teaching people peak experiences to help them transform. So that's kind of the business and where we're at now. And now it's getting exciting because we're hiring facilitators for the physical space, as you mentioned. And so coolest thing ever was like, for 2 years, we're sitting in the backyard, sound bowl, funny hat on, guiding people over and over. And I've probably, done this 1,000 times for like thousands of people, guiding them through. And you're wondering like, is this worth it? Am I doing the right thing? Like, is this going to be a business? And so we put it out to our community, this note like, hey, if you want to come learn how to facilitate peak experiences like a sauna or a cold bath class, like show up. 40 people show up, right? To my backyard. We do a fire and we start teaching people how to, teach people about how to change subconscious beliefs and do subconscious reprogramming. All the science of the ice bath, what's happening in the body at the cellular level, all the science of the sauna, what's happening in the body, how to be trauma informed and guide like traumatic release exercises, and kind of everything you would need to know to be a facilitator of these classes, which is really first of its kind. They combine, hot cold science, they combine movement, they combine trauma release, they combine self-hypnosis and NLP scripts. And we design them with like experts from all over the city. And so, these 40 people show up, they're all super interested of like, wow, I would love to facilitate this. And what we realize is it's not just in our space they want to facilitate, but a lot of people have a sauna or like they want to go in a cold lake at their cottage. And they were like, yeah, I would love to teach 6 people what's happening. And so that in itself has now been a huge driver for us to hire people. Is just that they want
to get that community building component.
Exactly. And I would say like half of our instructors, 3/4 have other jobs. So, they might be lawyers or accountants and on, like a 9-to-5 style job. And on the weekends, they want to give back and serve. And so it's really cool. You guide someone through an ice bath, help them break down their fears and conquer them. You feel good. You feel good about yourself. Like you've done something, you taught someone something. So there's this huge group of people who just want to be creative and create classes. So we have even therapists, like professional psychotherapists that know a lot about trauma, who want to do scripts in the sauna and do some of the stuff they're doing in their therapy rooms in this like crazy huge sauna with music and guide people through it. So a lot of the people are just really excited to be creative and facilitate for others and help them.
All right. Well, I think that's a great place to leave it. Thank you again for coming here. Like I said, I love the business. I love the ice bath. I love the sauna, and the breathwork has been amazing for me. I hope the new space works out and the community continues to grow. Once again, everyone, this has been Robbie Bent of Othership. I'm James Stephen, the editor of Truffle Report. Thank you for watching Truffle Talks. Take care. Thanks for tuning in to this week's Truffle Talks. You can find us online at truffle.report or as Truffle Report on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and Truffle_report on Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit. See you next week.